quarantine. Stay inside is what we're in. So we're joined along with a few of our friends, and today we are going to fix blackened Cajun salmon. And it is Resurrection Day, so happy Resurrection Day to everyone. I have my helpful sous chef and assistant Craig with me today. So, salmon. Let's talk about salmon first before we start. There are two different types of salmon. You can get the Atlantic salmon, or you can get the well, there's more than two different kinds, but the Pacific salmon. And today I'm going to fix the Atlantic salmon, but my favorite is actually the Pacific salmon, Chinook salmon. So, but I'm getting the Atlantic because we are in Rona season. It's what I had in the freezer, so that's what I'm going to go ahead and use today. You see that? With the Atlantic salmon, it's a lighter pink color. The Pacific salmon is more of a reddish color, and it doesn't have quite as fishy taste. It has a milder taste to me. My favorite is the Chinook salmon. So again, Atlantic salmon is what we're using today. Did anyone have any questions about salmon or choices of salmon, selections of salmon at all? Okay, well, moving right along. Blackening your salmon. The best type of pan to use when blackening salmon is a cast iron skillet. And this is actually a one-pan recipe, but because I don't like doing sauces in a cast iron, I'm going to switch from cast iron to my favorite, and that's a Teflon. And I talked about these a couple of lessons ago. I love these. Are my favorite type of pans. They have the steel handle. You throw them in the oven. They're very durable. Love these. You can get, there's two different types of those pans. I'm gonna call that one, that's the higher grade one. And then there's one, and I can't think of what they call it. I think it's called Teflon Kitchen. Okay, so it's not kitchen Teflon. It's simply Teflon. My bad. Or something. And they do sell those at like Ross and TJ Maxx, and they're not quite as durable to me, but they're good, really good brand. So, but again, we're going to start off in our cast iron, and then we're going to go over to the other pan for your sauce. So, before we start, one thing you can do with your salmon, and some people like to do it, it gives it a richer flavor, is rub it down with melted butter. I'm kind of trying to cut calories, so I'm not going to, but that would be keto friendly. You can go ahead and rub it down with butter. As a matter of fact, this whole meal is keto friendly because you have your salmon, it's protein, you have not many vegetables as far as the bell peppers are concerned, and you can use the heavy cream on keto along with the, what else do we have here? The chicken stock. So everything's keto friendly in this meal. Okay, for you ketoers, I got on Carb Manager. This dish is about 5 carbs and 444 calories. Sounds like a good keto meal to me. And it's just up to you to make sure your sides are keto legal, if you will. So again, we're starting with our salmon. I'm gonna wash my hands really quick, and then we'll start with the seasoning, and we'll get our pan ready. So what you wanna do with your pan, you wanna get your pan, you want it pretty hot, so I'm putting it on high, and a couple of tablespoons of our extra virgin olive oil, EVO. And we discussed before we started, I make my own. I've made my own blackening seasoning for years. Sometimes I'll add a little bit. Tony's makes a really good blackening seasoning. You can't get it up north because I know a lot of you are up north. You can get it online. Sometimes it's near the Asian food section, or they have a Cajun section at the grocery stores. But I love Tony's when I don't have any of my own made. So come over here. Give a Corona scrub down. So to prepare your salmon, just like last week with the shrimp, you want to make sure it's patted dry. And I had already prepared mine, but since I stuck it back in the fridge, a little condensation has hit on it. So I'm going to pat it a little. And the reason why we're making sure it's dry because it'll blacken a lot better if the moisture is out of it as much as it can be. So with blackening, you want to make sure you're very generous with your seasoning. And pat that on there. The pan should be just about ready. We see a little smoke coming from our pan, so we know it's there. And a good way to test to make sure it is ready, just put one in. You hear that sizzle of your salmon on there to ensure it's warm enough. And again, you can rub your salmon down with melted butter. Prior to seasoning it, it will help the seasoning adhere and it'll give it a really good rich flavor. It takes about 3 to 4 minutes on both sides. When you're blackening, you want to make sure you cook it really high. Some people like their salmon a little rare. I like mine medium. I don't like too much pink, if you will, inside. So I have already prepared my peppers and my onions that are going. Tish, you have a question?
I do. Are we generously seasoning both sides of the salmon or just one?
Both sides of your salmon.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
If I got skin, I need to season my skin and sear it?
So if you have skin, I like mine skinless, but if you have skin, be sure to score it on an angle, like at least 3 slashes. It helps, A, the seasoning to get in there, but B, it helps the salmon to cook a little better. I found that when you have skin on it and you're blackening it, it takes a little while for the meat, if you will, to cook. So be sure to remove the skin.
Thank you.
And you are cooking that on medium high?
I'm cooking this on high.
On high, okay.
And while your salmon is cooking, we'll see if we can get the camera close. You can see that it starts to turn colors. The side that's cooking will be a little white, start turning white, whereas the top will be pink. When mine gets a little over halfway of turning white is when I flip it over. I don't like to handle my meat and flip and turn it too much, whether it's chicken, whether it's fish. I try to make sure I'm only handling it as less as possible. So with this dish, it cooks really fast. So you want to make sure the peppers, the onions that are going to go in your sauce, you want to have those prepared ahead of time. So I do have mine prepared ahead of time, and we will go over that in just a minute. But I just wanted to show you the blackening process. As you can tell, it's not really that dark. I'm making this dish for my daughter. She doesn't like the blackening too dark, but I usually make it darker than this. At an angle. It is turned white, and your salmon, if you want to pull it off now, the salmon is done. It's going to be a little rare, and it's kind of like steak. You can kind of feel the tenderness in the fish. If it's not too soft and mushy, then you're probably medium. It's kind of like the thumb rule, if you guys know the hand rule, when you're doing the steak, medium, rare, well done, how you can feel the inside of your hand in here, well done, medium, and rare, the softer tissue. If your salmon, I like my salmon about that texture. The middle of the joints of my thumb. So I'm going to remove this. So just like, and I know you guys know by now, red is my favorite, but a good wine to go with this dish is a fruity red wine. So like a dark red blend, because it offsets and complements the nutty flavor you get. Yes, Candace. Cheers. The blackened salmon. It'll give off a nutty, smoky flavor.
What type of salmon is that again?
This is Atlantic. Now, when I was in Oregon, we could get the Chinook or sockeye quite often. But I'm tending to see more Atlantic down south. Again, this dish doesn't take long at all to prepare. So what's some of the feedback for those of you who fixed the salt and pepper shrimp? What's some of the feedback that you got?
Mine did not come out exactly like you guys, but I didn't follow the recipe. I went off when I thought I remembered right. Came out just a little different, but it was still good.
Was it tasty? Good. So what did you do different?
Well, I did notice when I looked at the picture and everything else, I really did cook my green onions in with the with everything else, and didn't hold it off last. But that's okay.
Yeah, you want to add your green onions in literally last and just toss them in and take stuff off the pan. Otherwise, they will wither, for lack of a better term, and start cooking too much. And you want those a little, you want the crunch flavor from the green onions, and you lose it when you cook it too much. Tish, what about you? I know you made.
I went to grab something out of my pantry. I've made salt and pepper shrimp for years, but I always go to the Asian market and get this little seasoning packet.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just the way I've always done it. Yours was just so much better. I don't know what it was, but this was, I mean, I won't have to buy this anymore, period. But yeah, it was really good. I got lots of reviews. I posted it in the group and on my page also, and got lots of positive reviews. And I was using what we had at home, so I didn't have the large prawns, but smaller prawns, but it would have been a lot better if I would have had the 16 to 20 count. But I had, I think I don't know what count I had, but I had smaller ones, but they were really, really good.
Awesome. What about you, Isha? I know you made it.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
How was the salt and pepper shrimp? How'd that turn out?
Girl, that was delicious. Okay, I tore all them shrimps up. Okay.
Right on.
Make that again. That was delicious.
I was cameraman laughing, so the camera's like shaking. So I know you're sticking to a keto diet. Can you share with everyone what you used as a side to go with your salt and pepper shrimp?
So I used, it was frozen quinoa. It was a quinoa pilaf. I bought it from Fred Meyer's in the health food section in the frozen bag, the Simple Truth. It was really good.
Awesome. Awesome. So now that your salmon is done, we set this aside. It is doing what we call resting. Okay, if I cough, it is not Rona. It's the blackening seasoning in the air. It's killing me right now. Tasty, but it's strong. So I'm switching pans. You can stick with the same pan if you prefer, but I'm switching pans just because I like doing my sauce in my Caplan. So the first item we're gonna throw in the pan is our red onions. We're gonna saute those.
Tree.
Yes.
Are we using butter or EVOO for the onions?
I'm using EVOO, but it's up to you. You can use butter or you can use the olive oil.
And what did you throw in there?
I'm throwing in my chopped red onions right now.
If you use butter, how much butter?
About 1 tablespoon should do it. I have my heat on medium high. All right, get my peppers and garlic ready to go. So you're gonna cook those onions down for about 3 minutes so they're a little translucent. And if you decide you don't have to use red onions, you can use a yellow onion. But if you do, I prefer, up north, you all get the Walla Walla sweets. The sweet onions give it a better taste than just your regular yellow one. I don't think I ever cook with yellow onions or white onions for anything. I always use the sweet onions if I'm going to use a sweet yellow onion or a red onion. Okay. Keep moving those so they don't get brown. You don't want them brown. You want them a little translucent before we add in our peppers. So to show you how easy this is, I'm gonna have my sous chef take over. He's looking at me like, really? But this dish is really, really easy. We're gonna have him do a couple of steps to show you guys how easy it is. So Calvin, if Craig can do it, you can do it too. So Craig, you're gonna add in the peppers.
And I already washed my hands, by the way.
He already washed his hands. And just like the ingredient list I sent you all, you can use any peppers you want. Today I'm using red and yellow peppers. They are the sweeter of the 4, I guess, because you have yellow, red, orange, and green.
I think that's why I messed up last week. You said peppers, so we're talking about bell peppers.
Yes.
Oh, okay, got you.
Now you want to add in your garlic. And you add your garlic in last because it cooks a lot faster than any of the other veggies. Got it? There you go. You can let it rest to sit for a bit. You don't want it to get brown, but you can let it sit. Let me take over. Good job, Craig. Can we give Craig a hand clap? Woo-hoo! There you go. And this is everything in the Cajun Trinity except for the celery.
I also added a little garlic powder. I guess I'm a garlic girl. I love it.
Calvin, you have a question?
I do not. That was my virtual hand clap for Craig.
Okay. That's all we need to cook our peppers down, the onions down. We don't need to cook them anymore. Now we're gonna add in half of our chicken broth.
How much chicken broth was it to start?
A half a cup, 1 cup, excuse me.
1 cup. Okay, so add half a cup.
Put it 4 1/2.
Okay.
And you can turn your heat down to like medium low right now. You don't want to completely cook it down. If you do, you can add a little more in there. While that is simmering, you're going to turn it down to low. you're going to take the remaining amount of your chicken broth and 2 teaspoons of cornstarch. And we talked about cornstarch last week. It's a thickening agent. Now, last week we dredged our shrimp and crab with cornstarch. This week we're actually using it as a thickening agent. And you want to mix that until there's no lumps. It's nice and smooth and silky looking. And then we're going to add that in to our pan. We're going to add in, you see your sauce should start thickening up. You're going to add in heavy cream. And if you've ever made Alfredo sauce, you know that heavy cream and Parmesan and some type of stock or broth as your base is basically the same thing. So with the cornstarch, it has a richer look, looks real silky and smooth along with your peppers. Then you're gonna add in your roasted diced tomatoes, and you wanna make sure those are drained really well.
What was the quantity of heavy cream?
Heavy cream was a 1/2 cup.
Thank you.
And the tomatoes, is it the full can?
It's a 1/2 cup. Unless you prefer a more tomato robust taste, it only requires 1/2 cup.
Okay, and then on the cornstarch, was that a teaspoon or tablespoon?
2 teaspoons.
Okay.
Okay, I didn't follow directions well, and I have fresh tomatoes. Is that gonna mess something up?
You can use fresh tomatoes. Do you have any canned tomatoes? The fire roasted tomatoes gives it a smokier taste.
I have diced tomatoes.
You can roll with that. Make sure they're drained really well.
That's 1 cup chicken broth, 1/2 cup of heavy cream, 1/2 cup grated Parmesan, a 1/2 cup of fire roasted tomatoes, well drained, and 2 teaspoons of cornstarch.
And you have what's almost looks like a vodka sauce, which is a marinara / Alfredo. Last thing we're gonna do is we're gonna slowly stir in our Parmesan. And that was a 1/2 cup of Parmesan. Any other questions? So now that's on low and it's simmering. The only thing we need to do is add our salmon back in. If you'd like, the lime juice that was on there was optional, offsets all the other flavors. It has a little acidity and it helps with any of the tomato taste. If you're not a big tomato fan, it does help with that. I don't really want the lime in it, but it also gives you a little citrus bite in the dish.
And what side dish would you recommend with this?
My favorite with this is garlic mash. I'm not gonna lie. So keto, I would do the cauliflower mashed potatoes. Cauliflower mash. But garlic mashed potatoes, this is really, really delicious. So let me get our plate. Show you all how I would serve it.
You put your salmon back in the sauce tree?
You can put your salmon back in the sauce. I'm not going to because my daughter is she's going to kill me because I used dairy products in this. I could have used almond milk to substitute, but I chose not to because I wanted the richer taste. So I'm just going to set the salmon on top, but you can return your salmon to the dish.
I guess I skipped my point. She's a vegetarian, so no dairy for her. So I opted to put the sauce on 2 pieces and left 2 without.
This is how I would serve this dish. On top of a little Parmesan. Any questions? So we have our blackened Cajun salmon, red wine, and we're ready to go.
Looks delish.
Any
It
questions?
looks really good.
Looks amazing.
One thing you could also do is some fresh shaved Parmesan on top for presentation. It also tastes good. If you want more of a tomato taste, add more tomatoes. But be sure you drain the tomatoes because you don't want that juice in there because you don't want to thin out your sauce. Season your sauce to taste. If you I'm not a real salty person. If you want more salt in there or you prefer more Cajun seasoning in there, you can do that. Just play with the sauce the way you like it. If you have an Alfredo sauce that you do that you really, really like, do that and add the tomatoes and the peppers in there. It's the same thing. Any questions? All right, well, thank you all for joining in Cooking with Tree. I will be shooting out the recipe to you all, and I will see you on YouTube again later. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.